There is a paradox haunting modern life. Amid spacious homes, luxurious vacations, and endless smiling photos on social media, a deep emptiness echoes within. An emptiness that no material possession can fill, no compliment can soothe. People call it existential emptiness. Carl Jung described it as the whisper of the soul, crying out because it has been ignored for too long. When what has been buried in the unconscious rises to the surface, it transforms into exhaustion, meaninglessness, and a profound sense of alienation, even from oneself. Modern humans chase busyness like a sedative. They consume endless information, shop, and seek validation. Yet the more they accumulate, the emptier their hearts feel. Some pains are not found in obvious wounds, but hidden in everyday moments that quietly carve into the soul. It could be when a grown child proudly shares an accomplishment, only to be met with cold dismissal, or when an adult expresses a genuine concern at work, only to be brushed aside with subtle indifference, or someone who has devoted decades to keeping a family together, yet feels unseen, unheard, and quietly lonely despite maintaining the image of a perfect household. These seemingly small fragments accumulate into an invisible wall, preventing people from connecting with their inner truth. They learn to suppress anger, mask their insecurities, and paint on a social smile. Yet, when looking in the mirror, their eyes reveal an undeniable truth. They never feel enough. This persistent sense of inadequacy drives many to pour themselves into work, achievements, or fleeting relationships, anything to temporarily fill the void. That void, however, can become a space where one first hears the true calling of their life. Jung once said that when people stop running from emptiness, the healing process begins. And this healing does not come from chasing external pleasures, but from daring to confront forgotten pains, buried memories, and the truth that we have spent too long trying to please others. The most painful aspect is not the events themselves, but the subtle messages absorbed along the way. A successful professional may still fear saying no, worried it will mark them as incapable. A top-performing employee may doubt their own worth after a single critique, despite years of achievements. Or someone who has devoted their life to caring for family may still feel unseen, unnoticed, and profoundly alone, because their efforts have never been fully recognized. These messages seep into how we value ourselves, shaping every choice we make. They encourage overwork, the sacrifice of health and happiness, all for external approval. They turn relationships into arenas of quiet judgment, where one constantly questions if they are enough. It is these invisible habits that carve the deep emptiness inside, a void that no material success can fill, leaving even the accomplished feeling hollow at their core. The emptiness within is not accidental. It is the consequence of years spent living in ways that are not true to oneself. People learn to detach from their feelings to survive, but the cost is losing connection with their own soul. Success in the outside world can never fill a wound that has never been acknowledged. And this is why, the more achievements a person accumulates, the lonelier they often feel, standing atop a mountain, yet with no one to call their own. When the question, "What do I truly need to live in alignment with myself?" arises, many are faced with a harsh truth. For years, they have lived to meet the expectations of others. A father demands success, a mother insists on family harmony at any cost. Society praises strength, but dismisses vulnerability. Gradually, people become disconnected from their own inner life. They learn to smile when their hearts are breaking, to nod when they want to shout, to become the most acceptable version of themselves rather than the truest. And the emptiness they feel today is the inevitable result of this self-betrayal. Yet within this collapse lies a gift. With nothing left to cling to, people are compelled to turn inward. This is the threshold Jung called the process of individuation, reclaiming the lost pieces of oneself, the fragments once deemed useless but essential to becoming whole. No longer the perfect child, the flawless employee, the ever-enduring partner. Only a real person remains, with both strength and fragility, light and shadow. A remarkable change occurs when one begins to embrace the parts of themselves once denied. They stop striving to prove worth through accomplishments or perfection. Instead, they learn to face vulnerability and recognize it not as an enemy, but as the key to true connection. This openness allows deep bonds to form with others, not based on curated appearances or effortful facades, but on real feelings and lived experiences. Modern society often paints the image of the ideal person, always strong, always in control, always happy. The truth is, no one can maintain that facade indefinitely. Behind countless smiles, millions struggle with loneliness even within their own homes. Paradoxically, the more people pretend to be okay, the more alienated they feel. But when someone dares to speak their truth, to reveal their cracks, that loneliness begins to dissolve. This is the turning point of awakening, realizing that life's meaning does not lie in being flawless, but in being true to oneself. When that happens, the emptiness that haunted them for years gradually gives way to a renewed vitality. Spiritual awakening does not come from a beautiful, effortless experience. It arises from collapse. When everything that once defined a person's value loses its significance, the door opens. Painful, yet it is the threshold of truth. The soul does not want more. It wants real. And then comes a moment when you no longer try to fill the emptiness, but allow it to become your teacher. You realize that the very pain that once brought you to your knees is actually the gateway to truth. Forgotten memories, the times you felt unheard, the long nights steeped in loneliness, all of it no longer weighs you down. Instead, it stands as proof that your soul has always yearned for something more genuine. This journey is not easy. It may mean letting go of relationships that were built on pretense. It may require stepping away from a job that once brought prestige, but no longer reflects who you truly are. It may confront you with uncomfortable silence, as for the first time you stop running from yourself. Yet within this loss, a new freedom is born, a freedom to live authentically, without hiding, without forcing yourself to be someone else. Carl Jung emphasized that light cannot be found by avoiding the darkness, but by daring to pass through it. And when someone emerges on the other side of emptiness, they find not only peace for themselves, but become a flame that warms those still wandering in the dark. Emptiness is no longer a punishment. It becomes the beginning of a truly lived life, a life in which the soul is finally heard. If you have reached the end of this journey, remember, emptiness is not the end, but the beginning of a more authentic existence. Every crack within you is a door to the light, if you have the courage to step through it. If these words resonate with you, consider subscribing to this channel, so that whenever you need a reminder, a spark, you have a place to return to and continue the journey of rediscovering yourself